Welcome to the Rookie Pastor Podcast, a special Christmas edition. Today, I'm your host, Brian Cawley, and today we have all of us, Kyle Neiman, Dustin Slayton, and Josh Prince. We are on, and we're going to do kind of a roundtable, just to have a good time for Christmas and talk about some things. So good morning, guys, and Merry Christmas.
Good morning. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you.
Happy Boxing Day.
Much.
That's right.
Yeah,
Happy Christmas, man.
Yeah, so we all have different Christmas traditions and different things that we have to do, and we're going to share a little bit about that today. But if you've noticed, if you've watched us and viewed the podcast rather than listened, you know that we all have this thing about hats. We all wear hats and different hats, and not just in our roles in life, but actually wear ball caps all the time. So we thought it would be neat as Christmas presents to each other this year to gift each other a hat. And we're going to open those here in a minute. No one knows what their hat is. Each person was assigned someone else. And so this is going to be the reveal.
Little hat secret Santa.
Yeah,
right.
A little scared, a little excited.
I'm a little concerned because my hat came in a package that's that thin. If you're not watching on the podcast, it's an inch thin and in a bubble wrap. So it's a.
I think it's one of the visors that have the fuzzy hair coming out of the
Hey, I would wear that.
We needed to get Dustin.
I know you would.
I would wear that.
So,
yeah.
All right. So how do we want to do this? Who wants to start?
I mean, I'm intrigued by Dustin's. We have to start
Yeah.
with Dustin.
Yeah,
Or maybe we leave
absolutely.
it for last. I don't know.
So I think you should tell who gave you your hat.
Okay, so mine came from Brian Cawley. So
And I will say, Dustin is extremely hard to buy for because he's the only Astros fan in the group. And he's an Aggie. And I cannot bring myself to purchase those type of hats. But he also is the only one without hair. And so
Yes,
there's a
this is true.
limitation on the trucker hat. You cannot buy Dustin trucker hats. Otherwise, the top of his head will look like University of Tennessee's end zone in the summer. So
you're not wrong.
Dustin,
You're not wrong.
This was very difficult.
Sometimes
Dustin,
I have to wear a hat with sunscreen on top of my head. You know, but
so we'll
all right,
see if
well,
you like
I'm
it.
feeling the package. It has a bill on the front of it, so it's not a beret, it's not a bucket hat, and it's a package within a package. It's from Ouachita. It's got a little Ouachita bag, which is the college that I went to. So very thoughtful, Brian. Let me reach in here now. All right. Hey, that's a good looking hat. I have looked at those before in the bookstore.
Good.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Yes.
I like that, man.
It's like a runner's hat, too.
Appreciate it.
So just as Watchdog, that's great.
It does say
That's
Ouachita.
awesome.
So that's a good quality hat, Brian. You get an A+, man. I like
Good
that
job.
one. I like that one.
I'm glad you like
I
it.
will be wearing that one for sure. This is one that I can get a good curve on the bill. My dad was making fun of me at Thanksgiving because I had a flat bill on. He's like, used to whenever you bought a hat in high school, the first thing you did was wrap it around a baseball. So
Yeah, it was how close can you get it to touch the sides of your eye?
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So
That was pretty common.
Yeah.
Well, Dustin, who did you have?
I had Josh.
I think we can go around that
I
way.
had Josh, and Josh. For those who are watching, you got to show the quality of this wrapping package, man.
I am the only one that did not get it mailed to me. It was hand delivered by the Dr. Slayton.
Just the
It's
love.
just the love.
and
Well,
care.
I mean, the love and the proximity. So if I get Kyle or Brian next year,
That
no
helps.
guarantees.
I'm not that much further from you than Josh is.
That's true.
Like,
All right. We ready?
Yeah.
for our audio listeners, this is going to be a delight. And just the sound of
Yeah,
rapping.
I'm glad I'm not editing this.
Oh,
We got a Rangers cap.
Ooh,
nice.
Who would have guessed?
Very
Not
nice.
only a Rangers cap, a
I
Mitchell.
need Josh is the Rangers man. So, I mean, it's so good that it's frozen his screen. So
Yeah, it's got a nice vintage T logo on the side.
that looks good.
I didn't even see that. Oh yeah.
There
it
you
does.
go. Very good.
Right.
What's
I
it
gotta take
looks like
the,
the patch on the other side? What's the patch on the other side say?
It's the collector's edition, Cooperstown.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
All right.
And Josh can rock
There we
the
go.
flat bill.
Yeah, Josh can do the flat
Oh,
bill.
absolutely.
Is the size fit all right?
Better than any of us.
It is snug, but I've got methods.
All right.
So it's fine.
I've got methods.
I've got methods.
Nice.
And I love the fact that we're just going to rock the label as
Yeah,
well.
would be
So we like
super
the sticker
super
on it.
cool.
So
All right, I had Mr. Neiman.
I have not even opened the box. I brought a knife. Brought a knife to this podcast. Let's carve this thing up. Don't never cut towards you. That's a bad idea. Although that's what I just did.
Or just yourself in general.
Highly recommend having a Leatherman. Although I had that in my pocket one Sunday morning at my previous church, and somebody was like, "That seems a little violent for a pastor to be carrying around." I'm like, "What?"
You're like, no, the violent part.
Oh, did this pain you at all to purchase this? I'm just curious. Like,
No, because it doesn't hurt as much as an Astros purchase.
Okay, yeah.
I have a feeling I know what it is.
so we got ourselves go from one Giants hat to another Giants hat.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Hey,
The
that
rope
is a
hat.
good
There we
looking hat.
go. There we
Yeah.
go.
I had to
Got
buy
that-
the rope hat.
got the rope there.
Yeah.
Very nice. I
Yeah.
like the tan. I have no tan hats, so this is great.
That's a good looking
There
hat.
we
That's
go.
and that'll go well out there when you're out in the country. You know.
That's the best Giants thing
I'm
that's
never
been
out in the country.
shown on the internet all year long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
yeah, for sure.
And that's it. That's it for our hat exchange. And so I of course had Brian, and so Brian, you go for it. Which
And I get
almost didn't get there as
Yes.
Our
Kyle
US
decided to
Postal
stick to
Service.
himself.
maybe I did address it wrong or something. I don't think I did, but yeah, it didn't. It came to me.
Yeah. How did they
first.
wind up sending return address? Wouldn't you be the return address?
Yeah, I don't know
They
what
sent it to
happened.
you.
Yeah, so maybe I just wrote things wrong on the sheet. I'll go back and check the book, but I think I wrote it correctly. It got sent to me, and I took it back, and they said, "Okay, well, we'll go fast." Wow, that's a manly way to open the box right there.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking.
I just
Kyle used a knife.
I don't need
Brian
to
used
be-
his guns.
Yeah. So ooh. Now this is nice as well. So take that
Yeah.
vintage
Classic
tee that's
tee.
on the side of Josh's
Classic
hat.
tee.
Very nice.
There you go. How's the fit there?
It's nice and comfortable.
There we go. Okay.
I don't have to worry about the red marks on my forehead afterwards. So and so it's got the
Old Arlington Stadium.
old Arlington Stadium. Very
Yeah,
nice.
little-
And
little
Mitchell
seal
and
for
Lance, I like that. So
I always like a green underbill. That's
Yeah.
that's always nice.
Absolutely.
Classic.
now this is
Absolutely.
the challenge though is Kyle. It's going to be hard to keep this a flat bill.
Oh yeah,
and
that probably is.
yeah, so because I'm a little too old for the flat bill invasion.
You're
So-
pulling it off,
Well,
man.
Yeah,
you need to
Make
do
it
the
work.
thing where you like curl up the front.
yeah, I totally can pull that. Or you just do it this
Yeah,
way.
you just turn it around.
There
we go,
There you
yeah.
go.
And
Very
Yeah,
simple.
you
Very
can you can wear Mitchell and Nash. You can wear those backwards.
yeah, I can
Very
do
Doug
this.
Heffernan of you.
Yeah. So, if it was a Giants hat, it would totally fit that. Or was he a Jets fan? I don't remember. So
Oh man,
Well-
Josh, you can't say that stuff like that after I just took a drink.
well, thank you guys. That was fun, and a good way to share who we are with each other and everything. So we want to talk about.
Thanks
some
for
of the-
everybody listening to the podcast today. That's it. We just wanted
That's
to
it.
have
That's all-
you
that's all we
listen
got.
to us open gifts.
Yeah,
Our gift to you.
Yeah, we hope you get good gifts on Christmas Day that are thoughtful as well. So
Apparently, people don't like gifts who listen to the Rookie Pastors podcast. I just had to vent. We had that great giveaway with like 4 commentaries to the people who would like, rate, review, comment on our podcast, and there was only 2 of y'all that did it. So,
Come on,
you
guys,
know,
step it up.
I'm just gonna say, y'all, our listeners need to step it up. We're giving away free stuff,
Yeah.
and
I just think it's because we have
Spin
we
giveaway.
have educated listeners who already have the commentaries, and
maybe
so
that's it.
Maybe,
That's it.
maybe,
I'm
maybe
gonna
we just need to
go with that.
Maybe next giveaway has to be a hat.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Okay.
They're,
There we
no,
go.
they're
Or-
good
or-
Baptist, and they only want CSB commentaries. That's
yes.
it.
That's true.
Or we have daughters
Loyal
that
to the
listen
Lifeway.
who just don't care about having a commentary. She wants something she can write in. So, well, the holidays are unique and challenging for everybody, every family, but especially for pastors. And as you get into being a rookie pastor, whether you've been on church staff before or this is your first go round, being in the lead chair, it can get very, very interesting and difficult during this time. And so we want to just talk about a few things about how we've navigated, how we handle what we've done well, what we've messed up. And so, guys, let's start off with what are some of the unique challenges that pastors face during the Christmas season? Kyle, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I think one of the ones for me, and this is it's kind of a simple one. I don't know. Was I guess 2 years ago was when Christmas landed on a Sunday, right? Is it 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Like that decision of whether or not we need to meet on Christmas Day or not was a really tough one. And it just kind of weighed on me in a way that I didn't really expect, where it's like, there were people in our church who was like, if it's a Sunday, the church needs to be open. And there's people in our church who are like, it's Christmas Day, it's going to be all right, you know? And so we, like, I stressed about it. I think I texted you guys, like, what are y'all doing? And I can't remember what you all said or whatever, but like, I remember just going like, that helps me a little, but I'm still like really stressed about it. Like, it was just so much anxiety around like when to do these services, and is it okay to cancel on a Sunday for Christmas Day, knowing a lot of people are going to be out or with family that morning. So it was tough. What we ended up doing was we put together a video for people to watch on Christmas Day if they'd like, that had some Christmas songs and whatnot, and then it had a short teaching from me, and it had a little greeting from all of our staff and stuff like that. So it was it was a tough decision. And then when it was all said and done, it was like everybody's like, "Yeah, that's fine." Like, even the people who wanted us to meet on Sunday were like, "That's okay." I was like, "Oh, I was stressing a lot more than I should have." So I don't know if y'all know at all, but just that scheduling of services, it weighed on me more than I expected.
Yeah, and understanding the people that will be the loudest on that, there's a good chance they're not going to be there, and just doing what's best. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I was thinking for me, it's not just doing what we've always done. I think Christmas has so much nostalgia to it, both personally and in the church. And I think it was a Carey Nieuwhof post this week. He was talking about like the need to not do everything traditional, especially if you as a church have worked proactively to, not set into being a very traditional church, which is not a bad thing per se. But if you've kind of made some progression towards some contemporary ways and things like that, I think you got to be careful with how you manage the Christmas stuff. So, like we kind of enjoy a more traditional Christmas Eve service. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that, but I think you still have to think outside the box and not just settle into a routine when it comes to Sunday morning services. Think creatively. I was talking before, we did a kids musical play, more play than musical. And I thought, man, we should have put that on a Sunday morning as this great opportunity to reach out to families that might be a good transitional way to get back into the church, or to get into the church for the very first time of, hey, they're going to come here, something that's really special and fun. We're going to, as a pastor, I can't let the opportunity go by not to at least have a 10-minute sermon of sharing the gospel. But I think that we need to think creatively. And for me, it's honestly, I'm real tempted towards the nostalgia. I'm real tempted towards the more traditional elements. And there's nothing wrong in that, except that you don't want to, essentially fall back too far in that season.
Yeah. What I'd say to that though, is especially if in church revitalization, which is something that we're all working on, if we're doing so much, kind of pushing the envelope forward, sometimes Christmas can be that reprieve that we can all agree upon, right? Like let's all be nostalgic together, and everybody just takes a deep breath, like, okay, and then we get back into it. It can provide that breakup of what we're trying to do week to week. So I see that as a good thing, but I understand that feel that like don't always fall back on that. I get that too.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to do because there's not a lot of modern, Christmas songs or Christmas hymns, and so those are great. Of course, you can always change them up, make them more contemporarized if you need to. But man, I mean, if I'm meeting on a Sunday or a Christmas Eve, like I expect Silent Night in a traditional way via candlelight. Of course, we have a incredible worship minister who's an awesome violinist, and so that's just something that we always put into that service. It has those traditional elements that I think are so great that you really cannot go away from.
Yeah, and you need to understand what as you move into a church, what their traditions are that you don't want to mess with. I grew up, I had no clue what an Advent candle in a church service was, and several places that I've served on staff at and been at, the Advent candle has been a huge deal, and I'm like, what does that mean? Especially in Central Texas, where you got a lot of German heritage, Czech heritage, understanding those things. And for me, I grew up. Christmas Eve was always. I saw a tweet this week that said Christmas Eve is not your Super Bowl; it's just a big regular season game. And I always believed that it was. I've always had the thought it's a Super Bowl; like you don't miss it. And you pull out the stops to create memories and things. But I think that can take away from focusing on the day in, day out, and the every Sunday, which becomes a challenge in itself because you're looking for that moment and not taking care of the needs of people. It's easy to not take care of the needs of people because you're getting hung up in the excitement of something big, a big opportunity. So,
yeah. I think one of the unique challenges during Christmas time is figuring out what to preach on, because you can preach every year only so much on the actual Christmas story itself. Luke 2. Every time I read Luke 2, I hear Linus. Linus reading the Christmas story. I'd love to see Josh's play at the church and see how that went. But like trying to stick with the Christmas themed sermons, but then also have something fresh that's new and this different. Last year we did the ugly side of Christmas. That was our Christmas series, and we talked about some unsavory characters in the Christmas story, King Herod and stuff like that. And so that was an interesting take on that. And then along with that, we did all the staff and leaders, we wore different odd Christmas clothes, throughout the year, Christmas shirts and stuff on Sundays. And then we had a special, one day was ugly Christmas sweater day, and the church had a lot of fun with that. So I think there is a unique challenge to balance the traditional, because people at Christmas, man, they want tradition, they want classic, but keeping it fresh is definitely a challenge, especially in that sermon prep zone.
Yeah, that's good, Dustin. Because it is hard when you sit down and you're like, oh, here's year 4 or year 5 of Christmas series. How do I do something? And knowing that it's probably fresh for the people that are listening because they don't remember or they weren't there.
Yeah.
For you to be able to.
I was going to say this past Sunday, I did a sermon that I knew was very much like what I did Christmas 2 years ago. Had very similar beats. I was going over the story of Zechariah and the story of John the Baptist's birth. And as I'm going, and preparing for it, I'm like, I've done this. It feels weird to do this again. I probably did in the same week, the week before the Sunday before Christmas, 2 years ago. And I'm like, somebody's going to notice. And I had multiple people come up to me after service, that was an incredible sermon. Thank you so much. I'm just like, you didn't know, and not that you copy your sermons verbatim, and I didn't, but I was like, I know I've done this. I went back and looked at those notes. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of doing a very similar thing here, and the points are very, very close. But it's okay. You also have to realize that, like you were saying, Brian, there's some people who haven't heard it, and some people need to hear it again. And so, try to keep it fresh, but if you're in this for the long haul, you're gonna be preaching the same sermon multiple times at some point. So.
Yeah. Well, let's change gears just a little bit and talk about schedule and calendar and managing that and family. It seems like during Christmas you've got ministry obligations that just continue to pile up. There's more events. There's plays. There's concerts. There's community things. Christmas parties for every group and class. It seems like. How do you manage all that and still do what you need to do for your job and still be husband and dad at home? How do you handle all of that? So, Josh, you seem to have a really good handle on all those things. So.
Oh yeah, perfect handle on it. Yeah, I think that of course the importance of always saying no is necessary. That willingness to say, I don't have to be at every party. In fact, sometimes I walk into a party and I'm like, I'm a buzzkill. Like it's like the principal showed up,
They start hiding all the whiskey bottles.
Exactly.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. No, it's just awkward because I show up with my own. I'm like, not that. So for us, like it actually is a unique thing. The like small group type parties and stuff that happen around us, like we don't get a lot of invites to that because that's just they've just kind of not known to reach out to the staff, which is fine. But of course, one of our big points is to a degree that doesn't really hurt the church. You got to learn to pick your family. So there's just things obviously with 3 kids. I mean, last week was the perfect storm for us as a family. Almost every night we had something through the weekend as well. And so it was just one of those busier times. So, there were just certain things that we couldn't do. But I also think you have to understand, and we've talked about this before, there's times where you're going in and you as a family have to understand, okay, the next 2, maybe 3 weeks are going to be chaos as far as our calendar is concerned with the church, with personal life. So if you can prepare yourself for that, know that you're probably going to have some days where you're grumpy or your kids are exhausted or your wife is in a bad mood. Like if we can work through that, we just know that that's kind of a reality that we're about to set into for a little bit. I think the big thing is knowing, okay, when on the other side of this, are we going to take a break? And what is that break going to look like? That is the advantage to kind of post-Christmas. You do have the opportunity and should be thinking through it as a pastor is either a Sunday off or obviously just time away from the office. We have a rolling thing that we have every single year that we do as a family. So it's always knowing, okay, there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And then once we're on the other side of this tunnel, what can we do to take some time to breathe?
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think what you said about not getting invited to all the different Christmas parties and stuff like that. I mean, in a lot of ways, that's a blessing, and as rookie pastors may feel like maybe they're feeling left out or something like that of the social scene of the church. But, you can see that as a blessing as well. Hopefully it's not because they're conspiring against you at the Christmas party. It's probably not that. I've always said we don't get invited to Christmas parties. We have 4 tag-alongs that are going to come along with us, and raid the buffet. Yeah. But I think that one of the things we have as family as kind of traditions is certain Christmas movies that we watch, and then we eat something kind of food that goes along with it. Like we watch The Christmas Story and eat Chinese food, or we let's see, what else we watch
worst Christmas movie ever,
Home Alone.
Wrong.
I'm just going to ignore that comment, Josh. And that hat's too tight, apparently. We watched the new one this year was watching Christmas Carol and having Tiny Tim's Tender Tuesday because we had chicken tenders, had nothing to do with the movie, but I guarantee you that's going to be a new tradition. So
that's funny.
So Melody at the beginning of December, she put those nights on the calendar. She's like, okay, this night is going to be this movie with this food and this movie with this food. And we kind of just said that those were sacred. And so like there was even a personnel team meeting where, we've got a lot going on in our church right now. We're starting a search for a music minister. And so we kind of had to okay, we're going to shift, these two things so that we have one of those nights and one of those personal night and all that kind of stuff. And so just kind of protecting those things that are really important to your family, I think is a big deal. And just letting church members know, no, these are things that our family does at Christmas that we're not going to compromise on. But then, like Josh was saying as well, just talking to your family, being like, okay, it's a busy season and there's going to be some nights where me and mom have to be gone, to this Christmas thing or this church thing or whatever. And just kind of balancing that prioritization. But I think the biggest thing is just especially for a new pastor, is to realize you don't have to be at everything, and it's okay. The church will survive without you being at every single Christmas party or Sunday school party or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. And as you get older, as your kids get older, that complicates things because their extracurricular schedule doesn't stop during the Christmas season. In fact, it increases with band concerts or choir concerts or whatever, and then it changes things. Like for us, we get 5 days this year at Christmas because of basketball. UIL here in Texas says they can't be in the gym for 5 days, and the coaches say, "Okay, we're going to be in the gym the last day they can and the first day they can't." So it complicates things as well. So Kyle, you were going to add your 2 cents in on this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do similar to what you do, Dustin. My wife and I, we just try to do a lot of special things with the family to make sure we're present with them. One of the things I wanted to say was, like, I try to make sure I express this for my staff to do the same. Like I tell them my expectation is, like, I will tell you the things you need to be at. Everything else is flexible. And especially when we get to those weeks around Christmas, it's, and around New Year's, I tell them, listen, there are no office hours right now. There's no expectation of this. Get the things done you need to be, pursue excellence, around Sundays and stuff like that. Do that whenever, but make sure you take time to be with your family. Like my youth pastor, he's a young married guy. He's trying to figure out, how do we do new life with 2 families, right? And just trying to encourage him, like you need to find that time, take the time, don't over stress about this season. So as much as it's important for me to focus on that for me and my family, I try to communicate that same thing to my staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wise. I think that I probably haven't done that. But I'm also, I'm retroactively, like, I'm trying to tell them no, or not tell them no, but like not make them feel that they have to do these things, like not put this weight of responsibility on them either. And I feel like that is the reality of kind of where we are. Even like our staff Christmas party, we were like, okay, there is barely any time. We would have to force this in to work. So we're just going to do a 2025, like first of the year, get together to have some fun together. We don't need to swap Christmas presents or anything like that. We just want to create memories together. So I think even that is a way that you can, consider your team. You don't have to have all the traditional little elements of gatherings together. It's okay to kind of think outside the box or do something slightly different. But I think that's wise to help them understand that, the same thing that's going for me needs to be true for you.
Yeah, I served on staff at a church that they had a great thing to help us do this, and they didn't close the office between Christmas and New Year's, but we had a large enough staff that you got either one morning or one afternoon that you had to be in the office, and you really didn't have to do anything. You just had to be there in case somebody was there. So you knew that a month ahead of time, so you could plan all of your Christmas travels. And if you got a day that, you traveled for Christmas and you got like December 26th and, or December 27th and it messed it up, somebody who might not have as busy a travel schedule, you could switch with them or whatever. But it allowed things to keep going. So many churches, it's end of year giving. Somebody's got to be there to take that in, that kind of stuff. And you didn't have to worry about taking off or do I have the days to take off or or whatnot, you knew you were going to get that break, and it was a good thing. So one final thing, because it's natural for all of us to be absent during this time of year, and for by nature for your staff to be absent. So many of your, if it's ministerial staff, they're probably living a distance away from family, and you want them to be able to go see that family. And so how do you involve other church leaders, or do you involve other church leaders in you being gone, or teaching your staff how to do that as well?
I'd say this is probably one thing that I haven't been all that as good at, and I need to probably be better. As far as the staff members, we communicate really well. As who's going to be out. We have a Google Calendar that shows everybody's days that they're going to be out all throughout the year, and so that's pretty easy to communicate. We haven't always broadcasted to the church necessarily when we're going to be out, just because we don't want to broadcast on a live stream. Hey, our house is going to be empty for a week. But I did get, and I haven't ever really gotten pushback from that until this last time where we took a vacation back in November, and we were out for 2 Sundays. And I did have one church member come out and say, "You really need to let people know whenever you're going to be gone." And he meant it from a good place. Just letting the church know, because people get up there and they preach, and there's no explanation of where the pastor is. And so, maybe there needs to be a little bit of, hey, I'll be out next week, but I'll look forward to seeing you the week after, or something like that. But I think that the church expects, especially around Christmas, there's going to be some in and out of staff members. And so this is probably the easiest time to communicate, when you're going to be gone, like Christmas time, summertime. But, just if you're going to say anything, I don't think you have to give a whole lot of detail, especially if you're in a small church. People are going to talk, and they're going to know anyway. Just let them know, hey, we're gonna be going home to see family next weekend. Associate Pastor Bob is going to be preaching, or whatever, and then just move on. Don't feel like you have to know for yourself. I mean, you don't have to defend yourself for taking vacation. Just go ahead and take it. So,
I think the challenge though is sometimes people are like, because people are so infrequent during Christmas, especially as you get closer to the end of the year. I think when you start to speak too much on, hey, I'm not going to be here as the pastor, I think some people might choose just to kind of mail that Sunday in, and you have 20 people show up to church that day. So yeah. I still would be a little bit cautious as to announcing that I'm not going to be here or whatever. My big rule that our associate pastor and I both understand is we cannot be gone on the same Sunday together. In my 4.5 years here, it's happened twice because we've gone on vacation together. So we both missed a Sunday, together, but it rarely happens, because normally if I'm not going to be on the campus at all, that is normally when I'll have a church member, most often our associate pastor, preach. But so that's kind of given that he's going to be here for that anyways. But I think that, it's just managing that, and the churches, I don't think that they're ever, bothered. I think they expect, like you said, Dustin, I'm going to be gone one of those Sundays. And we have it as a tradition every year. We go to Pine Cove for the family camp that they do at Christmas time. That's just always we know we're going to miss one of those Sundays right there at the end of the year or the first of the year. It just kind of is in our family rhythm. I don't know if the church knows that. I don't know if everybody understands that just yet, but there's kind of a flow to that we're experiencing every single year. But yeah, I think that making sure that you're not bringing in some random outsider on that Sunday to preach. Well, isn't the first Sunday of the year like National Youth Minister Preaching Day or something like that?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah. So.
I've always said it was the last Sunday, the Sunday between Christmas and New Year's, but our youth pastor kept saying no for some reason. But I'm too much of a softie to force my hand.
Yeah. I would also say, like, if you're communicating well beforehand to your leadership. So for us, my chair of deacons and one of my pastoral staff, they know that they're the go-to on-call people when I'm out. I've communicated to them. Our staff knows. Our core leadership knows. So when somebody calls up the office, can I speak with the pastor? I need the pastor. They know, hey, he's out of town, but here. What you don't want is he's out of town. Let me figure out who I need to talk to. That's where we get some issues, and some people are like, doesn't sound like the pastor really prepared everybody for him being gone, So I think more than communicating to everybody, as long as the key people know, then I think you're in pretty good shape. And when you're back, you report on kind of like, hey, we were on vacation.
Not
It
in
was
view of a
awesome.
call.
Not in view of a call. So as long as people know, on that leadership team, I think that's a big thing. And I think that's something you can also communicate at business meetings, where you can be like, hey, just so y'all know, those times when I'm out of town for a conference, when I'm out of town for a vacation or something like that, next in line person you contact is so-and-so. That goes a long way. So it's not worrying about, the pastor's out, who's in charge of what. Go and communicate that well beforehand. I think that would be a helpful thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I learned that the hard way. Not really the hard way, but coming to Round Rock and having multiple staff. I was out a few times, and then once before after I got back from a vacation or something like that, our music minister came and said, "Hey, maybe you may have never thought about this, but when you're out, it'd be great if you kind of said, hey, so and so's in charge." Told the staff, so and so's in charge, so that we know if something happens, who's going to handle that. And so a lot of times I would leave and I would say, okay, if there's anything to do with Sunday, if there's an issue for Sunday, Bo's in charge. If there's an issue with pastoral care during the week, somebody's in the hospital, whatever, Larry's in charge. So I kind of like assign people on the staff so that we could communicate that to the administrative assistant, the receptionist, so she knew where to direct those calls whenever somebody came in. And they were like, oh yeah, like you were saying, yeah, let me see who I can find to help you with that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a good word right there. It's just communicating to your staff, communicating to your church, who's handling things while I'm gone. That's just you shepherding your leadership, stewarding your leadership while you're out.
And it's something that should be done year round, not just because it's the holidays. You should always have that system in place. It's one of the great things about developing a teaching team of people in your church is that they're teaching and preaching regularly. That if you miss, it's not like, oh, he's gone. It's just type stuff. And so,
and if you're a pastor at a small church, you may not have 3 or 4 other staff members that you can kind of leave with things. And so that's the time where you have a conversation with your deacon chairman and say, hey, I'm going to be out on vacation this week. Could 2 of you guys kind of handle things while I'm gone? If there are any issues arise, that's kind of what your deacon ministry is there for.
Dustin, you talked about, going to where you had multiple staff. It's quite a change going from having multiple staff to not any staff and understanding how to do that as well. So it's all these things are pretty, they're hard to navigate, but they can be easy to navigate. They're things that, you just kind of learn on the fly, but to hear somebody else talk about it might be a good help. And Christmas does not need to be a time of stress, a time of worry. It needs to be a time of enjoyment and memories. You only get so many Christmases with your kids. And somebody told me a couple of years ago, I only have 6 Christmas mornings left with my kids at home. And I was like, shut up.
please don't do this. Please don't do that.
And, but it's true. And so you want to make sure that you manage that well, particularly during this time. But still be the best pastor that you can be. So, well, guys, thanks for the time. I know it's busy. We're trying to fit all this in so that we can share this with others. And any final thoughts before we go?
Christmas Story is an excellent movie.
It is.
So, I mean, just don't listen to Josh. It is a beautiful glimpse into childhood.
Well, I tuned him out the moment he called me Doug Heffernan. So
you're just mad because it's pretty accurate. with that hat backwards, man, you look the part. So
go get a job at UPS. So, guys, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and to all you who are listening, we hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And just remember that if you like what you're hearing, to follow us on all the socials at Rookie Pastor Pod. Or at did I get that right, Dustin? Rookie Pastor Pod?
That's right. Everywhere except for X, Twitter, it's just Rookie Pastors.
Rookie Pastures, yes, and like us, give us a review. Let Dustin know that you're sorry that you didn't jump in that giveaway, and write us a good review. And we would love to continue this journey with you guys. So y'all have a great day and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Ho ho ho.
My eyes are getting weary. My back is getting tight.
I'm gonna let it keep going.